Definition of witch. A woman who is supposed to have evil or wicked magical powers. Witches in black robes and pointed hats. And then an ugly or mean old woman. Hag. The old witch who used to own this building. Yo! Hello guys! Welcome back to my channel. I am Alisa and I'm the Mindful Makeup Artist. Today I am drinking a wild apple and cinnamon tea with a touch of ginger. Am I the only one who's already getting ready for fall? I love summer and I love warm weather, but I'm so ready for rainy days. Being under a blanket and having some tea and watching a book and oh yeah. So ready for that. The title of the video explains it. I'm going to talk about me being a witch and what it means to me to be a witch. I was a bit hesitating to do this video because the term witch is a bit of a loaded word because of everything that happened in the past. A combination of what the Catholic Church made of witch, made of the word witch, and then furthermore everything that sort of came out of it through fairy tales, movies, books. So today I just want to do a little bit of an explanation about it, particularly for the people who think that we are still of the devil, that we wear pointy hats, and that we are dancing naked in a circle of mushrooms. That last thing might be kind of fun, actually. I also want to say that I still consider myself a baby witch. I haven't been doing this for decades. I am not an expert on the field and I'm still reading a lot. I'm still buying a lot of books on modern day witchcraft and what it means to be a witch. Also, English is not my first language, so if not everything is very fluently explained, don't blame me on that, please. And I just hope that I won't get burned if I post this video. Ooh, that's still way too hot. Why am I a witch? I think that a lot of people who call themselves a witch are I think they always had sort of a affinity to the paranormal stuff, to things that are not of this world, and I had that myself. I love to read horror stories, child-friendly horror stories. I loved reading about vampires and werewolves and witches. One of my favorite TV shows as a kid was The Worst Witch. Of course, Harry Potter. I was a massive fan of Charmed, and I loved that, like in Charmed, they were basically normal women having a normal lifestyle, but they were just also witches. I always felt like there was something more in this world than what we can just see with our eyes. When I grew up, I sort of neglected that part of me and I was just focusing on being an insecure teenager. And then I met one of my best friends and she's also very into the paranormal stuff and she sort of gave me a boost to go and explore that again. But then it actually had an opposite effect because she actually made me a little bit afraid of it because she told me some stories and things that happened to her or things that she experienced, and I was sort of like, ugh. So then I sort of neglected that again, and then like the last 2 years I sort of completely came back and found my true self, if you can call it that. It does feel weird to do this video because this is something that I'm actually very this is something very private to me, and just because the word witch is so easily misunderstood, I'm not gonna say that to everybody that, hey guys, I'm a witch, hey, yeah, it was lovely to meet you, by the way, I'm a witch. I mean, I just know that the majority of the people are gonna look at me like, what? Okay, go back to the Middle Ages then. So, I was very hesitant to do this video, but then at the same time I thought, maybe this is part of my progress and my path and I just have to be honest about it, and I'm just gonna do this video. I'm gonna do an explanation. I'm gonna try to explain what it really is to people so that they sort of have a different opinion or a different idea about it and the concept of being a witch. So the first thing that is really important to me is finding that divine feminine. We are still living in a male-dominated world. We are still living in a world that is dominated by masculine energy. And don't get me wrong, I love men and I would not want to live in a world without men, let's be very clear on that. But there is something very powerful about being a woman, and that is also what you can see in a lot of ancient cultures. You can see that a lot of women were considered to be very powerful. Women are the beings or the people who are most connected to intuition, to the moon, to nature. So I find it really interesting to do research on that, what it means to be a woman, not necessarily physically, but also like on the inside. What kind of energy that is and how I can work with that energy to give myself, but also other people, maybe a better life, if that makes sense. You know, I'm not a spiritual guru, so I don't know if this explanation makes sense, but I do believe that there is something very powerful about being a woman. So I'm really trying to work on that and to work with my intuition, work on exploring my intuition, developing my intuition. You know, I also want to say that you don't have to be a woman to be a witch, because I know that in this age that we are living in, we are sort of stepping away from putting people into boxes, especially when it comes to sexuality. So let's be very clear on that. It's not like you can only be a witch if you're a woman. Absolutely not. A lot of men are witches. But I do identify as a woman in every sense of the word. And I'm just very interested in that and in the history of like ancient female oracles and like those stories about Avalon, female goddesses and what they represented. And I feel like we have lost that in our society, and maybe we are slowly moving back into that direction, but we are definitely not there yet. So that connection with, you know, my femininity and my intuition, also, you know, the monthly cycle, working with the moon, the different phases of the moon, is really one of the major aspects of what witchcraft is to me. Second attempt. Slightly more drinkable. A second thing, and this is probably the most important reason, and that is a connection to nature. With nature? Connection with? To? I don't know. You know what I mean. We used to be way more connected with nature. We worked with nature, we were so dependent on it. Basically, we still depend on nature. We still depend on all the seasons. Mother Nature decides to give us like a lot of storms or an earthquake or whatever, you know, we still depend on it. But we are also living in a world where a lot of people and institutions, it seems like they no longer care about nature, and it seems as if they think that they can control nature. That does make me very sad, because I feel like we are part of nature, but we are ruled by it, and I don't feel like we should rule it. So I also really try to work on finding that connection again with nature. I live in the city, but I still try to work with nature as much as I can. I have a tiny apartment full of plants, as you might see. I usually go to places close to my city that are like natural reserves or parks, and I just like to be still and try to connect with it and just be. Like, I love going to a beach and just not really thinking, but just being and listening to the sounds of the sea, the smell of the sea. Same thing for like forests. I love just walking into a forest and try not to think and just listen to the birds and like the wind blowing through the leaves and the trees. I'm not gonna speak for everybody, because I know that a lot of people are still having that as well, but I feel like we are removed from nature. It's sort of difficult to find a balance in that, because I do like the modern world as well. I do like the fact that I live in a city and I can go to a bar, a restaurant, a movie theater. You know, I have so many options of things that I can do living in the city, and that's awesome. But I also really miss that connection, and so that's also a major part of it. And it's also the four elements, of course, and just really sort of being hypnotized again by everything that surrounds us. So nature is definitely, and it's very simple things, like even if you got, like even if I'm, you know, I don't go to a forest every single week, maybe not even every single month, but it's even just working with my plants, planting new baby plants, working with herbs, brewing homemade teas, combining different herbs and see what it does, making DIY products. What I also want to say about nature is connecting with animals. Just to give like an example, I hear a lot of birds surrounding me, but they don't usually come very close because why would they? And yesterday there was this bird who actually came onto my balcony, and I was so very still because I was like, oh my god, this bird came so close. And it was this very short moment where I was just looking at this bird and this bird was looking at me. I think we were both like a little surprised, and yeah, you know, then it flew away. You know, to me that's magic, those kind of moments where you're like, oh my god, this bird just came into my balcony. It might sound so silly, but to me that's also a big part of being or trying to find that connection with nature. Then, thirdly, and this is probably the most spiritual aspect of it, it's also having that connection or trying to find a connection with my ancestors. Like, who were my ancestors? Where do I come from? What kind of people were they? I don't believe that we die and that's just it. I do believe that there is something more, and I do believe in stuff like guardian angels or spirit guides. I'm just really fascinated by that whole concept and that whole idea. So what I also really like to do or try to do, because like I said, I'm still a baby witch and I'm learning, but it's trying to talk to my ancestors. I like to have moments where I have my doubts about life or certain things that I try to do in my life. We all have our issues, and like if I don't have someone specific to talk to, I just like to light a candle, put some incense next to it, and I just talk. And I don't really know who I'm talking to. You know, for some people it will be praying to a god. For me, it's talking to my ancestors and or spirit guides. I'm also very interested in paganism, just because I feel like I have to be very careful with what I say, because I'm not against religion, but I am against institutions who are very suffocating, or if that makes sense. I just feel like for a lot of pagan religions there was much more liberty in how they treated life and themselves, because they did have that connection to nature. They were usually way more liberal. They didn't have that, you know, women and men were equal. I'm not saying that everything was perfect, you know, they usually also had slavery or they had like sacrifices, and I'm not really saying that we should have or do that, but I do feel like they were way more connected to nature, the planet. There was a certain admiration. I mean, it's just another way of looking at things, and science and technology is great, and you know, I'm using technology, so it's not that I'm like, oh, we don't need that in our lives, but I do feel like, you know, we try to explain everything, and I do like a little bit of mystery. I mean, can you imagine living in ancient Scandinavia and you see the northern lights? I mean, of course you think that it's the gods or something out of this world who's doing something. And nowadays we know that, you know, it's because of the Earth's magnetic field or some of that stuff. I'm not a scientist. And okay, yeah, I mean, now we know that, and that's good, but I don't know, it just takes away the mystery in life, if you get what I mean. So I really like to find that connection, like with my pagan ancestors, and sort of bringing that back into my life in combination with the aspects of nature and my femininity. You know, basically it's all one big cauldron, maybe that's like a fitting word for this video, and you have all these elements that sort of make me a witch or turn me into a witch. A last thing that I want to say is that people are like, oh, so you practice magic? Yeah? You have like a wand and you do hocus pocus? Yeah, I do that, and I wear a pointy hat while I'm doing those things. Magic is very simple. Basically, magic, to me, is just sending out good intentions, and it's trying to create positive energy so you can create the life that you desire. And that's it. I do rituals, I do certain spells, but basically those spells are just affirmations, so you can sort of create what you want, and so you can affirm that wish inside you. And that's what magic is to me. It's so difficult to talk about it because I just know that people are gonna be like, oh my god, you think you live in a Harry Potter movie. It would be great if that would be real though. I mean, imagine. It's just so difficult to explain. And I hope that this video will make some sense. But I guess that this is what I wanted to say about me being a witch. So it's that combination of connecting with my femininity, with my ancestors, with paganism, with nature, and at the same time creating energy, or, you know, trying to send out good vibrations and good intentions to create the life that I want, or to make certain wishes come true. And I'm still working on that, you know. It's not that I write something down and I say it out loud and the next day I have it. It doesn't necessarily work like that, but if you do some research, there are a lot of people who have done that. They have created the life that they wanted, and, you know, you can call it magic, you can call it law of attraction, you can call yourself a witch, you can call yourself a yogi, you can call yourself a spiritual person, you can call yourself whatever you want, but I like to call myself a witch. So yeah, I'm very curious what people will say about this video. I mean, like I said, it's very personal. Not even my parents know this. I mean, they do know that I'm slightly interested into like mysterious witchy stuff, but I never looked them in the eyes and said, hey, I'm a witch. Yeah, but I just hope that by doing these kind of videos, I can try to remove the stigma and the taboo of being a witch. It's not about being crazy and thinking you can do some abracadabra stuff and, you know, you can turn people into a frog. So thank you guys for watching. If you have any ideas for videos or topics that you want me to do videos on, like I said, my channel is a bit all over the place, but, you know, feel free to comment down below. I also have to do all the YouTube stuff, so feel free to like this video, subscribe to my channel. Anything else? No, I don't think so. So I hope this was interesting, and yeah, I hope you have a nice day wherever you are, and I will see you soon in my next video. Bye!